What is going on, family? YouTube team, how are we doing? Hope everyone's having a wonderful day. It's the holiday season, so I'm giving back for the holidays. We're going to go live here every Tuesday afternoon, all December. So let's close out the year strong. I do think that the markets are going to get the Santa rally, and I've been talking about it for a week now. And it looks like we've started something nice. Let's see if we can continue that stair step back to all-time highs. But how are we doing, everybody? What's going on? Hope everyone's having a wonderful day and is ready to make some money, because that's always the goal from 3 to 4 p.m. Eastern with the Maverick team. So let's dive on in. I already got a big group of things that I do like. Usually I always dim it down to 5 stocks. So there are 5 stocks I already like. I'm going to make the overnight list with you guys, and then we'll see if we could turn any of these into an overnight bag. Now, before I dive into anybody, I want to show you that yesterday we actually pulled off 2 wins in Beyond overnight and NLST. So 2 very nice gap ups. Beyond actually gapped up about 15%. NLST only gapped up about 6% for us. But we took about 10% in Beyond, little under that. And then NLST, we took about 5%. But nice 2 wins to start the new December and a bounce back because we were a little red on Monday. But now we got some plug. That's the only thing I have right now at 214 average. PLUG. And then we're also looking at ABAT. So those are the 2 stocks I'm watching here for potential bounces. I call this pattern the first green day pattern. I'll dive into it in a second. ABAT, I'm going to have to get the rest here. I was trying to wait for a dip, but we're pushing good enough. So I've slowly been adding, slowly and surely. Probably going to add my last couple here at the top. But we're now over, let's see. They're now over 1,300 shares. So slowly getting there. Plug, we've got ourselves a nice close to 2,000 shares. So just slowly adding. But the sizes shouldn't matter because the quantity is up to you. It's more about the percentages. And just like I talked about, Beyond overnight yesterday was about 15%. And then today, we also had NLST up 5%. But you just got to take the meat of the move. You pick the quantity, and let's keep growing the accounts. So let's do that here. I'm going to create my overnight watch list, which if you are new here in the Maverick community, in the simpler trading room, it's actually $7 only to join right now for a month. Very great deal to educate yourself at the end of the year and to start this new year. I personally think 2026 is going to be the best year yet. But if you look at the 5 stocks that we had yesterday on the overnight watch list, these are the first 2 that we took. So that's always the goal. We try to kind of take 1 or 2 from that list. It's only 5, and it's created every day at 3 p.m. Eastern. So let's dive in and let's see what 5 we create today. I think I already have the ABAT plug. Those are definitely going on there because we have already positions in those. And then BMNR I'm going to put on there. And BMNR, you can actually look at options. That's one that comes from our weekly watch list. That weekly watch list is created every Monday at 8:30. And then MSTR is another Bitcoin stock that I like. There is one last one that I do like, and that's LTCN. Other ones that were decent, CRML is a metal stock making new highs on a first green day. We have Tilray that just did a reverse split, but I don't like stocks that create first reverse splits. Getting a decent spike. It went back red, but it got a huge spike earlier after that momentum shift up. So we'll got some stuff to keep an eye on, but I think I like LTCN, MSTR, and BMNR. Those are 3 Bitcoin stocks. Both Ethereum and Bitcoin are up nicely today. And then I do like the way the markets are pushing, so I like these 2 battery stocks as well. AVAT is technically an EV battery stock, and so is PLUG. So those are the 5 I'm going to do. Just give me about 3 minutes to update this list, and then we'll dive in. Remember, plug is the full fill, and ABAT, I'm trying to still get some more, but just about 1,300 shares there. Both of these stocks we have played before, and that's also one of my favorite things to do, to play stocks you've played in the past because you usually know how they move. ABAT, this one, ABAT, it actually, I played it all the way back when it was an OTC stock, it used to be ABML. So that stock's been around forever. And back when it was ABML, it actually did really well on it too. So it's a stock that I am definitely very familiar with. It just recently spiked to $11, showing you the strength that a lot of these small caps have had lately. Look at Plug, the next one we're watching. Another first green day, but with a huge spike there. And I'll go over the list once I am done. Just give me a second to finish it up here. What I like to do is I like to look at the long-term chart and I say, all right, where's the last time this thing spiked? Well, it's all the way back at 140. So that's okay. But then I say, has it followed up in the past? Because it hasn't came down to 140. So it's not like it's bouncing off long-term support. But it is creating a first green day after not doing anything for a while. And we're making new highs there, which is always a plus. But look at the past. It does follow up. And we do have after hours that also could get a possible push. So we'll be watching that as well here. Yesterday, the stock Beyond that we played, we actually bought it after hours because it gave a nice dip. If you want to look at the opportunity that we made money yesterday. See, it's red today, but one day to the next, you could have made 15 to 20%. Their dip after hours, we actually bought it right before the dip, so it's pretty annoying. But we fought through the dip. We used our cut. And that next day, it gapped up really nicely. And we were able to sell right here. You could have sold 158, even higher. But that's always the goal when it comes to these plays. BMNR being that next one. This is actually an Ethereum stock. They came out with news this morning. And I always say news is a little bit of a bonus. If you've played Mario, Super Mario before, I like to say it's the mushroom that Mario eats. That gives a little bit of a bonus to him. So that's what I would say news does to stocks. It definitely makes you like it a little more as long as it's still lining up with the patterns that I like. And I only really trade 5 patterns. This is you're pretty much seeing the first green day across the board. BMNR is an Ethereum holder. The news is they bought some more Ethereum recently. So I think they have like up to 20 or like 70 million Ethereum. Pretty amazing to see. And honestly, when Ethereum has a 9% day, it makes sense for BMNR to be spiking. You have to think, though, is Ethereum going to follow up? Because if you are taking BMNR overnight, you are, in a way, betting on Ethereum. But also, I do want to say that I am watching the call options. And I'll put them right here, actually. So watching the call options there. And if I look at which one, I usually like to go a little bit in the money, like right in the money or out the money, depending on the volatility. So this 32 one looks perfect. And we're getting a dip right now, so let's see how far we dip. You'd have to use 90 cents as cut. Let's see if it can hold 32 again. We'll keep an eye on that. It is up a lot. You also could take stock. You don't necessarily have to take options, but that is an option, literally. And then let me set up the last 2 stocks on here. Just give me a second, and we will go over them right now. It looks like they're all dipping right now, BMNR and MSTU. But Ethereum is getting a small dip, so is Bitcoin, nothing crazy. And honestly, I always recommend to buy on dips. So I would want to dip either way here. So let's see how far they will dip. Same with Plug and ABAT. ABAT. Trying to get those dips there. All right, let me just do the last one, and then we will go over it. Wow, you are all done? My dog just went to the vet. Wow, Naki, you all done? You finished?
Yeah, it's a vet tech one, so it's really quick.
Look at that, buddy. He made it back. He's mad. Didn't even say hi.
Sleepy. Sleepy boy. Where'd you go?
Did he go in his crate?
No, where are you going, sleepy boy?
All right. So now that we're updated with this list, Plug's the only one we got full size in. We're trying to get some more ABAT, and then the rest of it, we're looking at BMNR, LTCN, and LTCN and MSTR. Now, how I like to look at it is this is created every single day, usually at 3 p.m. But since we were setting ourselves up here, we did it a little later. But if you look at it, you can see. Let me just line it up next to each other so you can see what I look for. The goal is as close to support as possible and hopefully sell above resistance. ABAT being number one, the support is a little bit lower, down to 360. So we'll see if it can get a little more dip. Probably want to add closer to 370 because even if we use 360 as cut, it's only like 3%. So that's where I'll see if we can add just a little bit. Watching this dip closely here. And then the other one that we got on there, so that's why I put 381 highs, 365 support. And then the other one we got on there is Plug, which is my other one we already got. We've already got filled here at 214. We were watching this all day since it spiked. Slow and steady usually follows up. Sometimes this one is a lot slower than most, so I wouldn't expect any jackpots here. But it has been holding. It's been due. It's been falling from 458 just recently, which is a pretty big fall. And it's, markets are drifting up. So we'll keep an eye on that one as well. The last three are Bitcoin stocks. And with Bitcoin and Ethereum spiking the way they are today, you can always do /BTC if you want to see the Bitcoin futures and /ETH if you want to see the Ethereum futures. Both of those are creating some pretty decent bounce days. So now what I look for is BMNR, which is dipping right now, which is what we want. We look at MSTR. And we look at the possibility. MSTR is another higher priced one. And both of them you can do call options if you want. And then the last one I actually decided to do an OTC stock because I usually like OTCs. And that's LTCN, which is a technically first green day pattern, but very light volume there. So those are the ones we're looking for. Let's see what we can get into the close. We still have 40 minutes left in the day. I usually like to get a lot more aggressive in the last 30 minutes, but we've already got our first fills and Plug. So we'll see what else we can get here to close out the day. Well, we got Plug for sure, and then ABAT I already got some. The average in ABAT right now is 374. Got 1,300 shares, but I'm trying to get more on a dip. We'll see if we get that dip. And then BMNR is dipping right now, so keeping an eye on that one. Debating between stock or option there right now. And Plug is still just hanging out. The QQQ definitely helps that spike there. Let me actually put the MSTR calls that I'm looking at. These ones are a lot higher priced, but a lot better volume. So let's keep an eye on our last ones. Other than that, there was a sector that has been spiking. I usually say take advantage of sector momentum, and that is silver and gold. But silver's been spiking for a little bit now, so a little harder for me to trust that. But if you look at SLV, which is silver's ETF, it's been making new all-time highs for the past 4 days, and it's still hanging around there. If it gaps up another day or two, I'm definitely going to start looking to short. But nice push in silver coming from 44. Silver and gold has actually had its best year ever since like 1979, I think it is. It's like 1978 or 1979. So if anybody has any questions or tickers, let me know if there's anything else. Yeah, I can magnify the tickers. I try to do them slow and steady, but ABAT and PLUG are the ones I have so far. I'll write it on here. All right. So we threw it in there. And let's see if these hold. If they get more dips, we try to add. I always say dips are discounts. So we're looking for dips. And that's what we're getting right now in BMNR and MSTR. I want closer to 182. And this one definitely closer to 33 is better. I mean 32. You'd have to kind of use all the way down here as cut, which I don't love. But it is a higher price stock, so you're not risking as much unless you do the options. Still gonna wait. I'm gonna wait to see if it can come closer to this 32 spot. If it does that, I'll probably scoop some. But if it doesn't, I'm gonna probably stick with the ones we already have in PLUG here. And ABAT. But here's MSTR dip. And then you can see BMNR is dipping with it. But 32 has been that support. So let's see if these hold these areas. ABAT keeps holding, which is a good sign. ABAT is a stock, like I said in the past, I've played it a couple times before. Typically, when it creates a green light day like this, it follows up. Nothing's an exact science, but that's usually what we're looking for. Anybody else have any questions in the community or in the room? I saw we got a couple questions on YouTube. DPLS, grill it. I see those little cheaper ones that are still hanging around, Himini, and that is good to know. What about the one stock we had on the morning watch list? What a play there. So we only had 3 stocks on the morning watch list because 2 of them we were in overnight, and one of them we were really watching. The other 2 we were in overnight. Look at this SMX move. It was unreal. We were looking at it at 33, and with the lines we set up, it did everything really what we were looking for. So absolutely amazing spike from 34 up to 66. You could have pretty much doubled your money there. So beautiful to see. And obviously it's still a possibility to follow up, but I can't really try it anymore. My time there is up, but beautiful to find out that our first Green Day play worked out perfectly. All right, ABAT, I might have to just take the rest here. It's just hanging out and holding. BMNR slowly dipping too. All right, let's see if this double tops at 381 and gives us a dip for the rest of the fill. Come on, buddy. If not, it is what it is. BMNR also looking for the hold here. Technically, the options came down to support levels. right, cool. BMR coming a little lower. And if we can get down to 30. This is what we want. Let's see if it holds this 32 spot. So dips are discounts, and that's what we're looking for here. All right, so plug's coming down a little bit, so we can keep an eye on that one for now. We can definitely keep an eye on that one. BMNR is right down to the spot we'd want it at, so let's keep an eye on this too. All right, let's see if it can hold this spot right here. 32 is the key level. I think I'm going to get some down here. I'm going to go a little bit of options and a little bit of stock. All right, so BMNR I like. We got some plug. ABAT's really the last full fill I'm looking for. Didn't go the biggest size in BMNR, but it also is a lighter volume. I mean, it's a higher price stock, so you probably won't get too much sway in that one. That's why I also don't feel too uncomfortable with taking some options there. Really rooting for the Ethereum gap up, though, so you kind of have to think Ethereum's going to gap up. All right, so we got some there at 32.11, and we'll see if we can add some more. Also, the option down here at 142. Higher price one, so it's going to be a slower mover. LTCN, you'd have to really bet on Bitcoin as well. I see you asked about that, Johnny. See if we can hold these levels and bounce back to highs into the close. But not diving everything in one ship here. We're going to diversify the portfolio, get some Bitcoin, get some EV, spread it out a little bit. You got 30 minutes left in the day now, so now it's usually the time where I want to get my full fills. ABAT's really the only one that I could probably add some more to here. Other than that, the other ones I'm probably going to let go. Let do. Yeah, no, with 60K, you can do this with any type of money. So that's a great question, Allie. Welcome back to the stream. You can literally do this with any type of money. I know tons of different traders that are doing this with all level sizes up to, $1 million account, surprisingly. So depending on your size, it all depends on your risk level, in my opinion. If you have unlimited money, it's up to you what you want to put in there. I always say start with over PDT. But if you don't have a lot, I say even start with a couple thousand, 2 to 3,000. But with 60K, you would use the same principles. I don't know if you'd want to put all 60K into one size. Into one play. But if that's what your actual position size in, then what you would do is you would slowly size into these plays, like a BMNR. Maybe you'd slowly start buying right now. Add as it comes down. Look for the curl back around. Same with the plug and ABAT. All the same type of situation. But if you look at the volume, this is a $1 billion volume stock. If you look at ABAT, it's at $18 million. And if you look at plug, it's $217 million. So all of these stocks have more than enough to handle your 60K. And that's a big, big part about what I do. There's a lot of stocks out there, but I usually find stocks that give you a certain opportunity out there with a certain reward and a certain risk. And I'm not going to go after a play that doesn't. So that's why when I look at these, it's like, oh, I've seen this before. Well, then I like it because I've known it's worked in the past. And that all comes from past history. You can always check out every single trades here on profit.ly, but it started all the way back in 2015 and it's continued to grow, very close to now 500K there in profits. So BMNR is back down to testing that 32 spot, but with a higher price stock, it's okay for now. Let's just keep an eye. Silver is right back to highs. Good old silver. So exactly, BMNR would be another example. You'd want to add your way slowly into these dips here if you have decent size. MSTR also coming right back to VWAP. So if you like that option, it just dipped from 560 to 3. Pretty big drop there. MSTR I don't trust as much because it's coming down from 52-week lows yesterday. Both of them, though, if you look at it, they're really just kind of following Bitcoin. So BTC is getting this little dip, and so is BMNR. I always say add into dips, so that's what I'll try to do. Dips are discounts. Like if you liked it up here, you gotta like it down here. It's the same situation with Bitcoin. If you liked Bitcoin all the way up at 120K and you were raving about it not too long ago, you should love it down here. And I'm not here to give you long-term advice or anything like that, But I am here to let you know that if you do like something that high, dips are discounts. I mean, once they start to break key support levels, that's different. But this just dipped right back to former support. 80K is a hold spot from all the way back in March. So just dipped right back. And the funny part about all those Bitcoin lovers is if you invested this year, you're down. At least if you started investing in Bitcoin this year. So still trying to wait to see if I can get any more ABAT here. Last really one. We got our 374 size so far, but I'm trying to get some more. PM&R dipping some more. Looking for the curl back into highs, into the close. The goal with a lot of these plays is obviously the dip and the rip, hopefully into the close. So that's why I say it's nice to buy into dips. It also minimizes your risk, but also maximizes your reward. So the next one that we'll see if we can get a mini dip here is this ABAT. Ideally, 370 would be a spot I'd feel good with getting the rest at. But if I have to add, I might as well wait for the last couple of minutes. I'm not going to chase now. I'm either going to wait for a dip or wait for the last couple of minutes here. Some other stocks that actually don't look too bad that we can keep an eye on for the future. We got RR, robotic stock that is starting to make its bounce. A lot of these stocks have very, very extended themselves over the summer or after the summer. It was really when I was on summer vacation when I went to Europe. So from the end of September to October, the beginning, you get a lot of these huge spikes. You'll see in the, and looking for the follow up here. And most of them, if the markets are going to bounce and we're going to come back to highs, I feel like this will be one of them that does the same. So keeping an eye on that. But that's a future play, not right now. We got our ABAT and plug still right now. I'd love ABAT to dip here in the last 20 minutes. If you look at ABAT's past history, you can see what I mean by follow-up green days. There's a lot of days it gaps up. Nothing too crazy. I mean, on this day, it ramped up when it broke out. But other than that, it's usually like 15, 20%. These days, it had some spikeage. And technically, this is a bounce green day, and it's right next to that resistance. So we also want it to get back above 380 tomorrow. If it can't do that, we might have to sell. What I like to show, though, usually when a stock's trading sideways or multiple downward days, is I like to see it at least coming back above yesterday's highs, which is right about there. Technically, it's that spot. So if we really put a line here, you can see it's clearly holding that, and you could really use that as cut if you want. But then it had itself a new support of 360. And the next spot, like I said, is that 382 levels that we wanted to break back above for a possible gap up. Plug got a small dip if you like it. You can add some there too. Ideally, 210 would be the add a lot more spot, but I'm fine with what we got right now. All right, here we go, A-bat. So A-bat's going to come down a little bit. And I'm going to see if I can add some more into it. All right, if it comes closer to 370, I'll add the rest. So still patiently waiting here. BMNR, this is why you bind the dips. It's trying to bounce back to that 32 spot. What's the pros and cons on a trade with too much size? That's a good question. Well, depending on the volume, it could be difficulty getting out. But I would say it's more emotion based. I don't even think you should look at how much size you have and say this is what I should do. It should be how much your stomach can actually handle emotionally. Because a lot of people will trade and they can't handle their emotion. I actually just posted that about social media. So if you check me out, look at BMNR, nice spike, baby, nice bounce. So if you look at on social media, I just posted about avoiding emotions, making profit, and that I think happens because some people are too sized in. That can be bad, because what happens when you see a big loss, you don't know how to handle it. You can quit easier. You can really screw up your mental in the future. And I highly recommend everybody to pay close attention to their mentality when it comes to trading. Don't just focus on the money management. The money management is a big part, but the mentality is just as big and just as important. So let's go back to A-bat. Let's see if we can get that rest of our fill there. Because that's really what we're going to try to do into the close. We've got the rest of the stocks we think are decent. All right. Still holding. Still waiting. But yeah, that's really it, Allie. That's the biggest pros and cons. I mean, you would probably do really well with the community. We have a great group of traders in the Maverick team. It's only $7 for the first month trial. In case Samba, I tried to change up here what you can look at. Scott, my broker is Charles Schwab's Thinkorswim, if you're trying to wonder what this platform is. I love Thinkorswim. I highly recommend them to every trader. I'm just one of those people that I'm a huge advocate of it. If it wasn't for Thinkorswim, I probably wouldn't be trading today because I started my trading career with a full-time job. I was managing at a gym. And Thinkorswim is a great phone platform, an amazing phone platform. So shout out to the team at Thinkorswim. And they usually give you the ability to trade almost all stocks, which is another plus. They're starting to get better with shorting stocks ever since Charles Schwab bought them out, because they bought Thinkorswim out from TD Ameritrade. You can actually short more stocks. Pretty cool. All right. So here we are. We're getting into the last 12 minutes of the day. Usually the last 10 minutes, I'm for sure going to have to add some. It's still just holding, so there's no really big moment for me to add. as of right now, but we'll see. BMNR, nice dip. So that 32 spot was pretty decent. It dropped a little below that. It looks like it hit this spot, 31.80. So you can even use that as cut if you want now. And then ideally, we look for it to break back above highs. And we were really rooting for Ethereum at the end of the day. So the thing about these stocks is they're going to close at 8 because they're going to move after hours, 8 p.m. Eastern. But Ethereum's going to move 24/7. So keep your eyes on Ethereum, see how it deals with the overnight play. And that's really how you should handle the stock that you're in, if it's an Ethereum-based one. MSTR also came right back to VWAP and it's trying to bounce. Another one that came back to support. So why I always say wait for support. That was a nice dip there too. I mean, Beyond yesterday is a good example of that as well. It dipped down to support after hours, and if you got that nicely, it doesn't look like a gain at all, but technically you could have made 15%. And that's why I always recommend grabbing the bag and moving on. Any other questions? Okay, no questions on here. What do we got? Any other tickers and questions in the Mavericks room? Let's see. RR earnings tomorrow. Oh yeah, thank you for that. So RR earnings tomorrow could really help the robotic stocks out. I really appreciate that because I don't like to bet on earnings at all. So with RR earnings tomorrow, maybe that really gets things going in the robotic sector. Recker's another one I like to look at. REKR. I also like to look at Serve, SERV. There's a lot of robotic stocks. iRobot just spiked a good amount, but I can't trust that one because it has bad news. Still, iRobot, I think, going to become bankrupt. That's the only thing why I can't trust it. But if you do like it and you have the right risk levels, as long as you stick to the cut, I mean, what a volatile stock. It dropped down to 87 cents yesterday because the news was that they're possibly going to go bankrupt. So crazy overall situation there. ABAT's really the last one we'll probably look to get a hold of. Plug is still holding, but nothing special. BMNR we'll keep an eye on. Still kind of trying to bounce here. Bitcoin's holding. Let's look at Ethereum. Holding as well. Yeah, iRobot, I don't know. It's not my favorite. Litecoin you could do if you want to try to do a gap up in that Bitcoin stock. In that Bitcoin sector. That's not a bad idea. All right. So let's see if we get these holds. ABAT's coming down a little more. So I'm going to try to get last fills here. All right, let's see how it closes the day here. All right, here's where we're going to get our last ads. And ABAT, I'm going after the last ads here. There's no options for iRobot. So we're going to get the last couple filled in ABAT. BMNR is going to kind of close even. MSTR, nice little bounce day off support. Looking for BMNR to do that as well into the close. All right, so we got 374. That was the spot, so that's the last one. Looks like we're getting small dips into the close here, which is not our favorite, but as long as we hold. Last couple of minute dips. Last couple of second dips. Let's get our last ads in. Get the last couple of ads in there. We got 5 minutes left. Looking for the buzzer beater pushes here, which right now we're getting dips. It's okay. As long as everything still is in plan. BMNR is going to close right here at this spot. All right, got our last little bit of ABAT there. So not the best closes. Usually we look for cushions into the close. These will move after hours, so 8 p.m. is the real closes here. So we'll see exactly where they close then. At the end of the day, you just stick to the cut. You stick to the plan. And let's see if we can get some possible overnight gappers like we did yesterday with Beyond. You will keep an eye on Ethereum as well as Bitcoin here into the close. Markets are actually holding. Damn, ABAT, what's going on there, bud? Last minute ads if you like it. Discounts, like I say, are always a little bit better. And here we go. We got 2 minutes left. Anything else we got? 2-minute warning. Little stock's getting a little dip here into the close, but let's see if we get the holds. Any last questions here in when it comes to order flow? Depends. I'm really just kind of looking right now for support levels, and I try to make it as simple as possible. Buying something on one price, selling at the next. Right now, obviously, the sell off at the end of the day is not exactly what you want. You actually want to close strong. So that's the last thing we wanted there. But we do have a decent spot. We're not down too much here, and they are still holding their support levels. So that's always the goal. Always got to stick to the plan. Oh my. Oh, well, the trading too much size. I had a good answer to that one, but it's just more about emotions. So I just posted a thing about emotions on social media. But if you could avoid emotions and stick to the plan in this game, you can usually lead to more profit. And that's really what you're trying to do. Avoid emotions at all costs. And when you put too much size, you usually get the more emotions. So I would say find what's comfortable that you can lose, and that's usually the size that you want to go after. That more depends on what you like or not. So it did dip back to close to VWAP area, close to support into close, but we're still looking for those gap ups back above highs in both, and all three actually the stocks that we're looking for. This is the first time we took 3 stocks overnight in a while. All right, we got 10 seconds left here. And there is the bell. Keep an eye on all these after hours. It's closing right now, but we still have a full after hours ahead of us. So keep an eye on that. We'll see if we can get some bounces into the close. Let's keep taking it one day and one trade at a time. For those of you guys that find this quite interesting and maybe something that you can do, we'd love to have you on the team. Come check us out in the simpler trading website under Stock Mavericks. There is a $7 trial if you'd like. Other than that, that's where we're going to close out today. Even though we got those dips there at the end of the day, we are still green because we had ourselves a nice morning. So we'll keep an eye on Ethereum, Bitcoin overnight, and then also the listed stocks until 8 p.m. Eastern. Other than that, nice work, and see everybody either back here next week or in the room. Much love, guys. See you.